Welcome to the Glitch Cult. Today we are going to be discussing the types of people you should pay attention to. Not everyone around you is good for your growth. Some people don't attack you directly, but their presence quietly holds you back. When you pay attention, you notice the patterns. These patterns are easy to ignore because they hide behind normal faces. Friends, co-workers, even family. In this video, we're breaking down the subtle types of people you need to stay away from. The ones whose presence feels normal, until you realize how much they're shaping the way you think, feel, and react. Let's talk about the ambition leech. This is the person who doesn't openly crush your dreams, but slowly drains the life out of them. They don't laugh in your face or mock your goals outright. Instead, they chip away at your enthusiasm with comments like, "That sounds like a lot. Are you sure you can handle it?" Or, "Maybe you should be more realistic." On the surface, it sounds like caution or concern, but the effect is the same. Your once bright and exciting vision begins to feel smaller, weaker, and less possible. They aren't demolishing your dream in one blow. They're suffocating it drip by drip. People like that usually act this way because they're weighed down by their own limitations. They've convinced themselves that aiming too high only leads to disappointment, so they adopt realism as a shield. When they see someone else daring to aim higher, it threatens their worldview. To them, your ambitions is a reminder of a risk they were too afraid to take. By discouraging you, they keep everyone at a same level, so they don't feel left behind. In reality, their comments aren't about you. They're projections of their own fear of failure. The reason you need to avoid ambition leeches is simple. They infect your vision with doubt. Success requires conviction, and it's almost impossible to stay motivated when someone is constantly pulling you back down to their version of what's possible. By surrounding yourself with people who fuel your ambition instead of draining it, you protect the clarity and drive you need to move forward. Distance isn't just about cutting them out. It's about creating an environment where your goals can survive and grow without being suffocated by unnecessary doubt. To reach your full potential, you need voices that push you upward, not ones that quietly hold you down. Let's talk about the constant critic. This is the person who always manages to point out what's wrong, no matter how well you've done something. They rarely give genuine praise. If you succeed, they'll find a flaw. If you make progress, they'll tell you what you still haven't done. Their words are often framed as feedback or just being honest, but the effect is consistent. You leave the conversation feeling smaller than when you walked in. Constant critics usually behave this way because they're deeply dissatisfied with themselves. Instead of confronting their own shortcomings, they project that dissatisfaction outward by tearing others down. By focusing on flaws, they regain a sense of superiority, however temporary. In many cases, it's less about you and more about their own frustration with life. Criticism becomes their way of coping with insecurity or lack of control. Spending time around a constant critic can quietly drain your self-esteem, leaving you with less confidence in your own judgment. It's important to recognize the toll this takes and step away. Constant critics don't just give opinions. They create an atmosphere where growth feels impossible because nothing you do will ever be enough in their eyes. By limiting their influence, you make space to acknowledge your progress and build confidence on your own terms. Surround yourself with people who can point out areas for improvement without erasing your achievements. Avoiding the constant critic isn't about escaping negativity. It's about protecting your confidence so it can grow instead of being chipped away piece by piece. Let's cut straight to the point. The eternal pessimist is the type of person who always expects the worst outcome, no matter what situation they're in. This isn't about someone who has a bad day or a temporary slump. It's a mindset that has hardened over time. To them, every plan is risky, every goal is bound to fail, and every good moment is only temporary before something bad comes to balance it out. They don't just prepare for problems, they live in them, long before anything even goes wrong. They might say things like, "Don't get your hopes up," or "Life never works out the way you want." And over time, you notice that their presence doesn't just lower the mood, it completely changes the way you start to view your own future. Eternal pessimists aren't born this way. Most of the time, they're shaped by past experiences. Somewhere along the way, life taught them that hoping for the best leads to disappointment. So they train themselves to expect the worst instead. In their mind, if they already assume failure, disappointment won't hurt as much when it arrives. It's a defense mechanism, one that makes sense to them because it feels like they're staying prepared. But here's the problem. By living in constant negativity, they don't just protect themselves from disappointment. They also block themselves from hope, progress, and joy. Being around an eternal pessimist can drain your own positivity and make it harder to stay motivated. You might start to see the world through a negative lens, which can hold you back from taking chances or pursuing your goals. Over time, their pessimism make it hard to stay hopeful and resilient. The danger isn't just that they're negative, it's that their voice slowly becomes your own inner voice. And once that happens, you start sabotaging yourself without even realizing it. This is why you need to be cautious from such people. Their outlook doesn't just belong to them, it spreads. If you want to grow, take risks, or chase something bigger, you can't afford to carry someone else's constant gloom with you. It's about recognizing that you deserve a mindset that fuels growth, not one that constantly undermines it. People who fuel your vision, not people who suffocate it. Optimism isn't being naive, it's the fuel for change. And if someone keeps draining that fuel, then the cost of keeping them close is simply too high. Now let's dig into the advice dumper. This is the person who hijacks your conversations with a flood of unsolicited advice, effectively drowning out your own voice. Picture this. You start to share a personal struggle or a decision you're mulling over, but before you can even finish your thought, the advice dumper jumps in, armed with a barrage of "you should do this," and "if I were you, I'd do that." It's not just one or two tips. It's an overwhelming wave of their so-called expertise that leaves little room for your own perspective. These advice dumpers often believe they're being helpful, but at the core, it's about control. They thrive on the feeling of being the expert in the room, even when no expertise is needed. It's less about offering genuine help and more about asserting their own sense of importance. By turning every conversation into a platform for their guidance, they're effectively sidelining your feelings and experiences. It's crucial to recognize that you deserve to be heard without being overrun by someone else's opinions. Avoiding advice dumpers isn't about seeing them as villains. It's about preserving your own space to think, feel, and express yourself. By doing so, you reclaim your narrative and create an environment where your voice isn't just background noise. It's about stripping away those who silence you and standing firm in your own perspective. Finally, let's turn our attention to the intellectual snob. This isn't the person who uses their knowledge to teach or inspire, but to belittle you. They thrive on making others feel small, flaunting what they know, and treating every conversation into a competition instead of mutual exchange. These type of people feeds on superiority. Their sense of self-worth depends on being the smartest person in the room. That's why they lean on complex language, obscure references, or a condescending tone. It's not about clarity, it's about dominance. To them, every discussion is a stage to perform their intellect, even if it kills any chance of real connection. What you think or feel doesn't matter. It only matters that they win the interaction. Being around such people can make you doubt your own intelligence or feel hesitant to share your thoughts. Over time, This can lead to a sense of inferiority or the belief that your perspectives aren't valuable unless they meet some lofty intellectual standard. This is why you need to be careful with such people. They don't just undermine you in the moment. They train you to doubt your own intelligence. They warp the atmosphere of dialogue into a place where only their voice seems to matter. Protect yourself by recognizing these patterns for what it is. True intelligence isn't about crushing others. It's about curiosity, openness, and growth. If someone can't respect your perspective, they don't deserve access to it. Now that you've seen the pattern, you know it's not random. These behaviors repeat for a reason. They show you who people really are and how easily their presence can shape the way you think, feel, and act. The danger isn't just in their words. It's in how quietly those words become your own. That's why awareness matters. Once you recognize the pattern, you can't unsee it. You either guard yourself or you get consumed by it. Stay sharp. Protect your space. Not everyone deserves to stand this close to your life. My name is Glitch, and this is Glitch Cult.